Are you waving at me for something in particular?
No, it's just okay.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bitnami and some of the things that we do on Amazon, and I've been asked to throw in a few other bits and pieces about me and the company and everything else. I think this could go in a lot of different directions. If you have questions, I encourage you to ask them at the end or during the presentation is fine too, and I'm happy to chat after. So I'm just going to cover a little bit about the company. We've been in business since 2005, so we're probably one of the oldest startups on the planet. We started out with a cross-platform installation tool, so we probably still remember actually downloading and installing software on our laptops and click next, click next, click next. We develop a tool that basically lets people build those for their own software, and that's how we got started. So companies like Intel and Samsung and General Dynamics actually still use our installation technology today to package and deliver software to their customers. And that was really the foundation for how we got into building AMIs and other images for all the different cloud and container platforms. We started with native installers, then we went to VMs, and then we started building cloud images as the cloud became more popular. And we actually started working with Amazon, I think it was back in about 2008. Before they even had a marketplace, we started building out cloud images for AWS so that people could easily deploy their favorite applications in the cloud. We're about 70 people. We're bootstrapped, which maybe is more normal here, but in Silicon Valley, it's definitely unusual to not just raise a ton of VC and hire people right away. So we're about 70 people, and we have offices in the US, in Spain. We've got a few folks, including Kevin at the back, who's taking pictures of me. Thanks, Kevin. In the UK and other folks around the world, and like everybody else, we're hiring, and if you're interested in working in cloud and containers, happy to talk to you. So how many of you have actually heard of Bitnami before? Oh, awesome. Cool. Okay. So hopefully you've seen these familiar icons in the Amazon Marketplace. Bitnami packages a library of about 150 open source and commercial applications and makes them incredibly easy to deploy either locally or in the cloud. We have 1 million deployments a month across local and cloud deployments and now containers as well. And we have about 1 million registered users on the Bitnami website. So we do have a pretty big user base. We drove about 450 million hours of cloud computing usage in 2016, and we expect that to double this year. So we're a pretty meaningful driver of cloud usage across the different cloud platforms. Obviously here I'm talking about Amazon, but we also support Azure and Oracle and the Google Cloud platforms, as well as one-on-one as well. So I was told that not everybody here necessarily uses a lot of open source. I'm assuming that everybody's pretty familiar with what open source software is. Yeah, shake your hand, something. Thank you. Okay. So obviously, when you're running an application in the cloud, it's a piece of server software, right? And you need the application as well as a database and a language runtime and all these different bits and pieces in order to get things to work together. And the great thing about open source is there's a lot of fantastic software out there. We talked about how many apps Bitnami packages, 150 apps, everything from content management to ERP to bug tracking. You can get pretty much anything that you need as an open source piece of software. But if you're building everything out yourself, that means you need to get the app and all these different disparate pieces and make sure that you have the correct versions of everything and that you're using a secure and patched version of Apache, for example. The benefit that you get from working with Bitnami is that we actually track all of the different open source components at the application level, as well as all the dependencies, web servers and runtimes and everything else, and make sure that our images are always totally up to date and secure. So for example, I'm sure everybody here remembers Heartbleed. When that hit, we rebuilt 50,000 AMIs in 36 hours. People always ask why we have so many AMIs. It's because we support a bunch of different operating systems like CentOS and Amazon Linux and Ubuntu. And then a lot of times we maintain multiple different versions of an app because maybe you have developed a custom module for Drupal, and so you're kind of pegged to a certain version of Drupal. And what Bitnami will do is maintain several versions so that we don't like force you to upgrade before you're ready. So that means we have a ton of AMIs and a ton of other images too that we're constantly rebuilding whenever there's any kind of a security issue. And that's not really in the purview of this talk, but if people are interested later, I'm happy to talk a little bit more about our automation and like how we do all of this, because we basically spent about a decade building out the tooling to be able to very quickly rev images. Because if you imagine, we're not just building even for Amazon, we're building for all these different cloud platforms and native installers and VMs, and we need to push everything out onto all of the different platforms we support. So I kind of touched on this, but these are some reasons why you might want to choose Bitnami versus just either building your own or going and pulling a random image. There's actually a company behind the images. I should probably point out, for those of you who haven't heard of us, they're all free. So I'm not trying to sell you anything. You can go and use a Bitnami image for free. You don't even have to register with us. You can find them all within the Amazon Marketplace. We're the largest publisher of images in the Amazon Marketplace, as well as all the other cloud marketplaces. And we have an entire team of people dedicated to maintaining our tooling and our component, like our artifact library, to keep everything up to date and tested and secure for you. One thing that I should touch on is one of the benefits of Bitnami is you can download a native installer and get exactly the same stack that you'd get in the cloud. So if you want your development team running on our Rails stack or building out some module for, again, I keep using Drupal, but something like that, you can actually download and get a free environment set up on your Mac or your Windows or Linux laptop, and then you can fire up exactly the same image in the cloud, which makes it much easier to migrate between different environments. Obviously, I touched on the fact that the images are always kept up to date. We do a lot of optimization around the images to work on making them more and more performant, and you'll see a lot more from that from us on that this year. And obviously, like I said, we're always staying on top of security vulnerabilities. Excuse me. So that's a little bit about kind of the basics of Bitnami. We work with Amazon in a bunch of different ways. In fact, I was just up there last week in Seattle meeting with the RDS team about some of the stuff I'm going to talk about tonight. Another thing that we did with them recently was Lightsail. Have any of you used Lightsail yet? No? One? Okay, I'm sure Amazon's going to be disappointed to hear that. So Lightsail is basically being dubbed as like the VPS killer from Amazon, and it's basically like $5 servers, or starting at $5 a month, but it's like super cheap way to deploy and run applications, and a lot of people were calling it the DigitalOcean killer, if you're familiar with DigitalOcean. And Lightsail has kind of a curated set of applications available at launch. They just launched it at reInvent. And all of those are from Bitnami. So Amazon basically trusted us enough to base Lightsail, which was a huge product announcement from them, base Lightsail on Bitnami images. So just going back to the trust issue, we work very hard to make sure our images can be trusted. And I think Amazon's inclusion of only Bitnami images in Lightsail is a testament to our work there. The other way that we work with Amazon is by providing different types of images. Up until very recently, Bitnami was only focused on what we call single tier or single VM images. So it's basically like a monolithic stack, right? We have everything on one server, the database, the app, everything is on one server. You can actually do a lot of very cool stuff with that. We found out, for example, that Electronic Arts was running one of their online games on 200 of our JBoss instances. And Uber and Twitter have built production apps that are running on Bitnami instances as well. So there is actually like a lot being done with these images, but we realize that they don't work for every use case. And last year, and especially now this year, we're putting a lot of focus into providing more scalable architectures. So we started building out multi-tier images where we're splitting out the database, and you'll see a lot more from us around that again later this year. And also building RDS images. So we have 2 currently today that are running on RDS automatically. They use the MariaDB RDS service so that you get the benefits of RDS. So this may be obvious. I wasn't quite sure about the technical kind of level of the audience, but single tier apps are great for simple deployments. We have a lot of departmental users that'll deploy things like Drupal or Alfresco or WordPress. Sometimes some Jenkins goes into production on a single server as well. And it's obviously a great way to just get up and running. It's much cheaper to run something on one instance. Multi-tier, again, more sophisticated, much more scalable. We use CloudFormation templates for these. And just like the regular images, they're available free of charge as well. And then we have the RDS. So with a multi-tier, it would just be that the database is split out, but you have to manage the database yourself. I'm assuming most people are familiar with RDS here, if you're at an Amazon meetup. Okay, yeah. Obviously, you get great scalability, high availability, and you don't have to manage the database yourself. So RDS is a great option when you're putting an app that needs to scale into production and you don't want to manage the database yourself. The 2 apps that we have right now are WordPress and Redmine. Like I said, they use MariaDB for now. We are really looking for active feedback around these images and what people would like to see in terms of additional applications, additional topologies, or different database services, like if people would like to see us build out Aurora images and so on. So if you're actually interested in using these, we'd really love to talk to you and hear what you're looking for. Obviously, we don't want to build stuff that nobody's going to use, so it's really helpful when people share their use cases with us and talk a little bit about what they need to, or they'd like to see next. And I think that pretty much sums it up. Obviously, we maintain these just like we maintain everything else, and we do a lot of work to make sure that they will work out of the box. And now we'll test that because I'm going to do a demo that I've only done once before, and we'll see if it works. So let's see here. Just bear with me for 1 second. That's Kauai, in case anybody's wondering or wants to plan their next vacation. Helps me de-stress in between meetings. Okay, so you've probably all seen the Amazon Marketplace before. I'm just going to search for a Bitnami multi-tier WordPress. And here you can see. This is pretty new, so it doesn't have any ratings. Although if you use it and love it, I would not be disappointed if you went and gave it some stars. And you can see here our listing. We just click continue. You can obviously choose a different region. This shows us, all the information. I've already accepted the terms for this software. If you do this for the first time, it'll actually prompt you to subscribe to the product. Again, it's free. It's just kind of linking it to your account, and you'll get an email a few months later saying that you can activate the image. So I did skip that step, but it's pretty straightforward, and it's under Amazon's control, not ours. You can see here that the URL is pre-filled to the image that I want to use. And I'm just going to click next. And let's see here. You can select availability zones. I've already created SSH keys, which will be shown in here. So I'm not going through every single step, but I'm happy to answer questions about this later. So we can review, and let's see if I didn't do anything wrong. Uh-oh, see. Oh, because I what?
Change the start name.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. Oh, now I'm going to have to go back and do it again. Sorry. This is what happens when you only do it once instead of twice. Good thing it doesn't take too long to click through everything, right? Okay. Continue. Sorry, everyone. Thanks for your patience here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I did. Thank you. Whoever's telling me thank you to that person. Okay, I will rename this time. This is why they gave me a video to show. But I didn't want to do that to you. And now here we go. And it's going to be recorded for posterity too. This is why I don't usually do the demos. All right. That's why I make somebody else do the demos. All right. If this doesn't work, I'm going to the I'm going to go to the video. All right, there we go. Now, actually, this is the one that I created previously. It does take about 10 or 12 minutes to boot up, and I'm not going to have you guys wait for that. If I reload, it should show me that, see, this one is in progress. And if I click on the one that I did before, you can see the logs of everything that happened. And then I think it is, oh, whoops, not there. Let me find it. Here we go. Now we can see that my WordPress is up and running on RDS, and it's ready to go. It really is that easy. I actually did this myself today, and I had never done it before. And other than not replacing the stack name, I did everything myself in like 15 minutes. So if I can do it and I'm not an engineer, I'm sure any of you can do it as well. It's super simple. I will say that the AWS console sometimes gives some warnings that are a little bit obscure. So do check the documentation. We have worked really hard to make sure that we have complete docs around this. And we also have community forums and a help desk. Plus, I'm Erica at bitnami.com. So I'm pretty easy to find. If you have any problems, I'm happy to hear from you too. And that is about it for the demo. When it's that easy, the demo is not that impressive either is it? Because it's already like running. I did have a couple of things that I wanted to just mention in closing. I think I touched on some of these. There's some links. I don't know if it's possible to send these out, but I put a bunch of different resources for you. And then, here we go. Just a few things that I'd like to ask of you in case you're interested in getting more cool free stuff from Bitnami that we're going to maintain for you and you don't have to pay for. If there are other apps that you'd like to see, Kevin, can you stand up and, yeah, this is Kevin. He runs business development for us and works with both commercial software vendors and systems integrators around Bitnami. He'd love to hear from you about any apps that you'd like to see packaged. And if you're a systems integrator, he'd love to talk about some of the work that we're doing there to build reusable and, again, free templates for systems integrators who want to build out solutions on Bitnami now that we're building the multi-tier solutions. We're also doing a lot of work in containers. So we've containerized about 50 apps already. They're published as Docker Compose templates in the Docker registry, Docker Hub, and also in the GCR. And we're really involved in the Kubernetes project and Helm in particular. So we've built a ton of Helm charts, and we actually have a few people committing to that project. If you're interested in running any of our applications on containers, obviously we'd love to talk to you about that as well. And I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions? No? Yes?
Are you going to open source any of your tools that you don't?
Great question. Actually, I meant to talk about that, so thank you. So yes, actually, one of the things that we've been working on for over a year now is productizing the Bitnami toolchain so that people can use it to build their own images. Now, there is going to be a commercial product around that, but as a part of that, we're actually going to be open sourcing a bunch of the tooling that we use so that you can use Bitnami tools to create your own images and build them from an artifact repository that we maintain and track against CVE databases and just general updates and things like that. So there's a lot more coming from us around that in the next 6 to 9 months. And if you're interested in providing early feedback, I'd love to talk to you too, and we can talk a little bit more about what we're doing. But yeah, lots of cool stuff is going to be released, which I'm super excited about. Anything else? No?
Any
All right.
other questions?
Hi, you've mentioned that you work heavily on Docker. Do you have any kind of dedicated AMI images that support microservices run on a Docker with RDS as a database backend? And do you performance test that?
Not yet. I wish I could say yes, but no, we, excuse me, we don't have any containerized solutions that hook up to Docker or to RDS or any of the other cloud services yet. But that kind of thing is coming from us soon. It's a pretty natural evolution of what we've been doing.
Any other questions? Erica's come specially from the United States of America,
All the way
so
from San
please,
Francisco.
questions.
If anyone wants to talk after, another thing that's of interest, I went through Y Combinator. Bitnami was in Y Combinator in 2013. And I'm happy to talk to anyone who's thinking about starting their own company or who wants to learn about how the incubators, or at least Y Combinator, works in the US. I'm happy to talk about that or fundraising or anything else. I mean, obviously, you might have picked up on the fact that I'm not an engineer, but I can offer a lot of insight, at least from my perspective of being in San Francisco and having a software company out there and what that's like, and could probably make some intros for you too. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.